This is Aaron Levine, LG Insurance. We're buying cars. We need the best resources in the world in order to buy cars. I've got my good friend hanging out, David Goldstein. We were college roommates, so this conversation could get a little bit weird. I think we should just get weird with it because we've had some good times. We do some business together, but you know, I like having a new car in my driveway every 12 months. Or at least that's what it kind of seems like.
Pretty much.
And I don't want to set foot in a car dealership, and I haven't set foot in a car dealership in years. Right. And the car buying process has changed. The cost of cars has changed, and the services that you're bringing to people, I couldn't wait to share and be able to help promote here and have you as a guest on the podcast. You just have to throw your phone away.
I know.
Just doesn't
it never stops
stop.
ringing. Everyone wants cars.
Just trash it. Everybody wants cars because you can't get them, or even if you can get them, people are questioning it. And you know, you've come up with a solution as a broker, so to speak, and you help people order, buy, find cars, and then you help them get out of their leases for their current vehicles or sell their current vehicles if they want to sell it. Right, so you're moving every single piece of the puzzle around people driving vehicles on a regular basis, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, look, buying a car is never a pleasant experience. I'd say 9 out of 10 people that you speak to don't want to go to a dealership. No one really ever leaves a dealership feeling wholesome that they've gotten a great deal at a car dealership.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is 90% of those people don't get a good deal. And it's because the model is broken. And what I mean by that is when you have a retail sales associate in a dealership, their number one objective is to sell you the car as expensive as they possibly can.
Right.
And the reason they want to do that is because their compensation is merely based on how much profit is in that deal. Mm-hmm. So they're aligned with the dealership. Our model is different. We create these partnerships with these dealerships across the tri-state area. We have, last I checked, over 400 dealerships that we work with. And what happens is they used to give us wholesale pricing. Right now, because of the shortage of cars, it's steeply discounted pricing. And what happens, the way we're compensated is we have these prearranged flat fees with the dealership. So if we move a particular unit, we're paid that flat fee.
Right.
I don't care about selling a car 1 penny more than what my cost is because it doesn't do me any good.
Right.
I can sell you a car for, call it $30,000, or I can sell you a car for $35,000 for the same car. I'm still getting paid my flat fee. So our interests are much more aligned with the consumer versus the dealership.
Right.
And that's been very, very well received. In addition to that, obviously, when you're in a dealership and sitting down and negotiating, you're there for 2, 3, 4 hours, and it's just a taxing experience. No one really likes it.
Well, it's because I have to go to the manager to get you a price,
Correct.
And we're going to do the best thing we can do for you. And then if you leave and threaten to go to another dealership, then the numbers change again. And right, people spend all day waiting and then sitting there waiting for paperwork to process. Right, so I'm going to go through the last buying experience that we had together. For me, this is my buying experience, and if everybody's listening, this is the buying experience you should have. See something you want, call Vantage Group. David, I saw this. I think I like it. What do the numbers approximately look like? Get an idea. I go online then and build the exact model that I want to bring home and that I want to drive, right? Because I like to order my car, so maybe I'm a little bit different. Or else I'm calling you and saying, what's in inventory? What can we get? What does it look like? And are there any programs or any discounts? Is there any finance benefit for certain models and things right now, you know, if I'm not so particular? So then we order the car. You know, dealership does a credit pull. I make a down payment. And then in the next period of time, whatever that may be, the car is sitting in my driveway.
Correct.
Signed papers at my kitchen table.
Correct.
And I'm out the door. And you take my old car with you,
right,
and return it to wherever it needs to be returned to, or sell it on my behalf,
right,
so I don't have to worry about it.
And that's a very good point that you bring up also. A lot of people, and again, things are a little bit different now given what's going on in the industry, but a lot of people, when you had a lease in past years, you would literally return it and actually pay the manufacturer to take it back, which is considered, the disposition fee.
Right.
What we're doing these days, because of the shortage of supply, the pre-owned market has generated equity in these lease return vehicles. So what we do is we go ahead and we buy the car off the lease, and we transfer the equity to the consumer like yourself,
Right.
ultimately offsetting the cost of the new lease and not having to pay wear and tear, not having to pay disposition or any of that jazz. So it's just a very pleasant experience for something that usually is not very pleasant at all.
But people are so skeptical. Like, I don't get it. Like, even people like, I referred somebody to you maybe last year, and he had to save $10 more, spent like another 3 weeks researching and calling and haggling on a readily available vehicle to save $10 a month. So people are crazy. People are fucking just nuts when it comes to this. Like, that's more of a psychology thing.
No, it's the
Consumers
truth.
are nuts, but like, how do you talk them off the ledge when they're like, "Oh, I'm going to go shop you," and like, time is money, and I value my time more than anything, and
100%.
I don't care about the $10 a month. I want the convenience of calling you, placing an order, having the vehicle show up in my driveway, and never having to worry about a goddamn thing.
That's what it comes down to. But also, you're hitting the nail on the head there. It's just the industry in general is not a trusted industry, and we're trying to change that.
Right.
And the reason we're successful, the reason we're selling 100 cars a month is because people trust us. Instead of having to shop also 15 different manufacturers for different types of products, they can come to us for our product knowledge.
Right.
We've driven all these cars. We know what's good. We know what's reliable. Basically we do a profile for each person that calls us to see exactly what their needs and their wants are, and then we'll match them up with a particular product. So it saves, to your point, it saves you quite a bit of time.
So before you even started this business, you were shopping for my cars for me. Like, this was your hobby.
Yeah.
Right.
It was.
you were helping
passion.
everybody buy their cars, and then you turned it into a business. We were looking at something, and you're like, I'll make the calls for you. I'll tell you where to go get it, and then you go and and finalize the deal. Like, that's what you were doing 10 years ago,
right?
And if not longer, while you were slinging insurance full time. You're still slinging insurance full time,
right?
But packaging it now with cars, and you're really making the buying experience so much better. That Vantage can then help you with your auto insurance and your home and your business and everything like that. But we're taking care of the cars in the interim, so you're maintaining the full circle relationship around a family unit.
Well, it's a one-stop shop. So we offer that the buying service for the vehicles, or leasing, financing, whatever you want to call it. We do the insurance as well. Most of the people that come through for a new car are in need of insurance or have insurance, and we offer to shop it to see if we can save them some money there. Sure. And that obviously works for us as well, because if someone's set on a particular payment and we might not be able to get them at the payment on the car, if we can reduce the cost of the insurance, it's all the same situation. In addition to that, we own a body shop that we assist as far as deductibles are concerned. So if someone buys a car from us and they have the insurance with us, and their car has to go into the shop, in certain instances we might be able to waive the deductible. But more importantly, with our shop, it's certified by all the major carriers, Geico, Progressive, Allstate, State Farm. So all the repairs that are completed on these vehicles are guaranteed for the life of the vehicle. And then on top of that, we also have a rental fleet. So if someone buys the car from us, God forbid, gets into an accident, damages the car, we come white glove, we'll pick it up on a flatbed, bring it to the shop, fix it, and in the interim, we'll give them a loaner car.
The Toro, you were on the news for the Toro stuff at one point. I remember that. You and Sean were rocking Vantage from head to toe.
Correct.
On like News 12 or CBS or whatever the heck it was.
Exactly. So yeah, we have a fleet of Turo cars that we rent out to people. As of recently, we kind of pared it down just because the price of used vehicles were so high. So we sold some of them off, which actually worked in our favor because of obviously mileage concerns.
Right.
But we're in the process of building that back up again.
That's awesome. When I'm a renter, I love renting from Turo, especially I'm getting off an airplane. Car shows up at the gate, at the terminal, waiting for me, ready to go, clean. It's somebody's car. I like renting nicer cars. I'm not renting. I don't want to hope to get a Ford Focus if I'm lucky at Enterprise, right, with no navigation in it and having to look at my phone the whole time. I'd rather rent somebody's, Escalade or something nicer because I got to put kids and a ton of fucking luggage in the car. So I need something big or else it's not going to fit. One time we rented a mid-sized nice SUV. and it was too small for all the luggage and everything. You know, I don't have, you have 3 kids, you have a lot
It's
more
not,
luggage.
it's not easy.
It's
not
just
easy.
so much better to rent from Turo, and you can rent whatever the hell you want.
Right, and it's 9 out of 10 times with Turo, the vehicle is going to be a nicer vehicle than you're going to get with a Hertz or an Enterprise or anything like that, because they're going to be just going for fleet cars, which are base cars, the bare bone minimum.
Oh, they're awful.
So, and on top of it, the pricing is usually much more aggressive than the
Right.
agencies.
Right. So getting into pricing, right? People are always concerned about pricing.
Yeah.
People don't know what to do, right? So when you're first consulting and profiling, and do people need to test drive as much? Like like the test drive doesn't really matter as much. Colors, configuration,
Right.
everything's going to be comfortable. Everything's going to have Apple CarPlay. Like, how important is a test drive nowadays when it comes down to it?
So really what we see is the younger generation doesn't really need to do that anymore.
Right.
They go online, they find what they want, they'll price shop with us.
Mhm.
Usually I'd say 9 out of 10 times we'll beat what they're going to get from the dealer
Right.
because of what I mentioned before. So we don't see too much test driving in the younger generation. The older generation, our parents' generation, people still want to sit in a car. They want to
Mhm.
put their asses in a car and feel what it feels like and how it drives and this and that. And that's understandable. I
Ragtop.
get that. I mean, usually with a lease, you're in the car for 3 years.
Right.
So you want to make sure you're making an informed decision about it. But what's good about us is, in addition to everything we just spoke about, we have these relationships. We can send these clients to these dealerships that we source cars from.
Okay.
They'll literally have the car sitting outside when they
Right.
get there. They give them the keys. Here you go. Go drive the car. No salesman pitch, no pricing, no this, no
That's
that.
huge.
They drive the car, they park the car, they leave, and that's the
Right.
end of it. And then the business aspect of everything is done on the back end through us.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we still send people for test drives, but I would say less now than prior years
Yeah.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
where do you see the car buying experience going, right? You drive around, inventory on lots. These dealerships have massive parking lots that
Right.
used to have 1,000 cars on them,
Right.
right? You go aisle to aisle and pick out the one you want, or look in the computer and get the color you want, so to speak, right? Where is it shifting to? Is it like, because there's no inventory, there's still limited inventory. I know you can find more cars now on lots, but there's limited inventory, but interest rates are freaking killer right now too.
It's bad. It's very,
Like,
very
so
bad.
where are things headed in the future with the car buying experience and how people are going to get into new cars?
So look, there's a portion of the population that'll believe that the dealership model is going to go away. I don't really particularly believe that's going to happen, because
Right.
you're going to always have that segment of the population that wants to touch, feel, look, and
Mhm.
see what the car is all about. But there is a segment, like we talked about with Tesla. Tesla's really had carved out a nice niche for themselves, the online buying experience. So you never see the car. You can call for a test drive. Good luck someone coming to your house and being able to drive it. But I don't think the other situation that you have to understand too in our industry is the unions are very, very powerful.
Right.
The dealership unions. So for them to rid themselves of the dealership franchises is going to be nearly impossible.
Mhm.
So I always think that we're going to have dealerships there, whether they're actual dealerships that are used for sales negotiations. That is to be seen.
Mhm.
They could become distribution centers where people order their cars online,
Right.
and they pick them up at the particular dealerships.
Showrooms, distribution,
Right.
service is super important.
But what I see is in our industry, there's certain markets that are there's a lot of brokers out there.
Right.
Like if you look at New York, Brooklyn, and some of the boroughs, there's lots of brokers out there. So it's a saturated market. Though I think the distribution channel is going to become very similar to what you see with insurance. I mean, the exclusive agent is kind of dying in the
Right.
insurance agency, and everything's going to independent agent. And I could see that happening in our industry because, unfortunately, the dealerships don't really have the talent pool that's needed to be able to push enough cars,
Mhm.
and they rely on us a lot to do that. So my thought is that why not open it up to all brokers and let
Right.
them distribute the product? I mean, they're still making the number they want to make. They get to dictate the pricing that they
Right.
want.
I mean, if the showroom was full of service people and consumer concierge type people, it becomes a comfortable experience.
Right.
If I have my broker helping me on the back end to
Yeah.
set those test drives up, to make those relationships and to make that interaction happen. Like,
Yeah.
you walk into some dealerships and they're phenomenally and well set up for good service experiences.
Correct.
Others are not.
Very bad. Yeah, very,
They're-
very bad.
They're awful. When I go get the Jeep service, like, I hate being there and I'm stuck there unless I feel like having somebody pick me up.
Right.
when I go get the BMW serviced, I get in a new car and I leave. Like I don't even have to sit around.
It's very, very easy.
They don't even worry about you sitting around and waiting. They give everybody a car, so you just get out and they'll call you back. Same thing with Mercedes. When I had the issue with the GLS, I had the loaner car for 3 weeks. I got lucky with that, but still.
I think that's also a product of the time that we're in also, because obviously we know there's a supply shortage. There's also a huge parts supply shortage, and we're seeing that big time in the body shop right now. I mean, cars that normally would be in and out in a week are taking a month and a half, 2 months.
Right.
And obviously that's a problem too. That obviously contributes to the high cost of insurance. I mean, to fix these vehicles, the labor is double than what it used to be now. Also,
that's an important piece. Like looking at your insurance policy and making sure you buy as much rental car coverage as if you need to rent a car as you can possibly get, and it's always limited. You're never going to have enough. We had a guy with a Porsche Cayenne Turbo. It was stolen. It was recovered. It was damaged. 9 months to get the car back.
It's crazy.
9 months.
It's crazy.
He was trying to sell it. He was trying to have the dealership buy it back. He was trying to buy a new. He went and bought another car because he had to buy another car.
Right.
Because this thing was still not able to be fixed.
Right.
Because one of the electrical harnesses was manufactured in the Ukraine.
There you go. And that's not uncommon. I've seen that happen several times.
It's a total disaster, and all the technology in these cars also is making insurance very expensive, because if there is an incident, the likelihood of it being a total loss is a lot higher too, because of the technology that goes into these vehicles, and they're just they're not steel boats like they used to be.
No, and one thing they're going to have to address, and I'm sure you've spoken to this to your peers about this, is the rental reimbursement coverage on most policies is 30 days. We're blown by 30 days on 90% of the cars right now. So,
and renting something nice too. You're not getting $30 a day either.
No, $30 a day. You're not getting anything right now.
And I always tell people to buy the damage waiver when they're renting a car, because I don't like to mess around with that.
No.
Because if you damage the rental car, which I had somebody do, they wrecked their car, then they got into an accident with the rental car 2 weeks later. You're responsible for depreciation when it comes down to your rental vehicle. Like if you get that car damaged and they can't resell it appropriately, you have to pay for the depreciation and the time lost for that vehicle not being on the road. You get screwed.
That's a huge thing.
10 times by these large rental fleet companies if you damage their vehicle. So you buy that damage waiver, you can drive it off a cliff and turn the hubcaps back in, and you're good to go. That's $17 a day or whatever it is the best money you can spend when renting a car, but it gets expensive over the course of a month.
It does, but you have to think about the hassle also. I mean, if you don't take that waiver and you actually try to put the insurance claim through your insurance provider, the paperwork, the amount of wasted time and nonsense that you have to go through to get that claim paid, it's just astronomical. So I agree with that 100%. But no, look, I mean, in the industry right now for the past year, it's been rather difficult. People would come to us and ask for a Jeep Cherokee or a Grand Cherokee, and it was like, okay, yeah, no problem, we'll have it in 4 months, because the supply chain was so disrupted. But things are starting to turn now. Mm-hmm. Specific manufacturers are starting to put out a lot more product, which is lending to lower prices also.
Okay.
So people
which is
that
only
are
going to offset the higher interest rates.
Right. So, well, the thing is, what's happening also from on a macro perspective is that the manufacturers, they had something called turn ratio, which basically meant that the more cars you sell, the more allocations you get for new cars. The more allocation you get for new cars, the more cars you sell, the more money you make. That had gone away for the past 2 years during COVID, because they had no supply, so they couldn't hold these dealerships accountable to that turn ratio, and that's when you saw the prices, 10,000 over sticker, 5,000 over sticker, whatever. It was insane. It was like the Wild West. But now that there's more supply coming in, they're holding them accountable to this turn ratio.
That's
now,
good.
To bring in what you just said about the interest rates, yes, that's a problem. You see, a general money factor inside a lease was usually less than 1% prior to COVID. Now your average money factor is 6 to 7 to 8% inside a lease. This is not even a finance. This is a lease. It's ridiculous. But here's the thing. They still have to sell cars.
Right.
Okay, so how do they sell cars? The manufacturer comes out with lease cash, rebates, this, that, and in conjunction with that, if the dealerships want to move units and get more allocation, they have to drop the prices. And that's what we're starting to see now. So now I'm going to tell everybody that's listening is the time to look for a car. And the
Right.
reason being is because what I just mentioned, turn ratio is back in effect. And in addition to that, the pre-owned market has come down quite a bit.
Mhm.
But there are still pockets of vehicles that have tremendous amounts of equity in them.
Right.
Okay. And as we enter the spring market, this happens every single year, we see an uptick in the value of vehicles because people want to buy cars in the spring. It's a better time to buy a car than in the midst of winter when there's salt and crap all over the road. So now, if you have that certain criteria as far as what fits in that pocket, like for instance, Jeep right now, if you had a Grand Cherokee Limited from 2000, 2001, 19, those cars, if they're leased through Chrysler Capital, are carrying anywhere between, call it 5 and 10,000 in equity in those cars. So you take that money and you apply it towards a new car,
Right.
your price with the discounts, the rebates, and the dealer discount is going to be in line with what you were paying prior to COVID.
Right. And then you get to walk away with a new car.
Correct.
Right. And that's where trusting a professional that lives in this space and has a different motive than the retail salesperson at a regular dealership, right, is super important. Now I have to check to see if I have any money in the Gladiator because it's 2 years old. It's time to get rid of that too.
No, it's going to be close right now for sure. And then the other thing that you want to keep in mind is, like, even if you don't want to get into a new car, there are other services, including my company, that will buy your car and transfer the equity to you in the form of a check too.
Right.
So if you don't need a car anymore, it's a good time to move that car.
Right.
So yeah. Anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Listen, so many things that go into getting into a new vehicle, and I think using David and his team to help you do that, I think is super beneficial. Especially they've got the body shop. They can help you get in and out of anything that you want to get in and out of. You get into an accident, they'll come and pick up your car. Right. So full service, except for the insurance piece. We'll stick to that.
Yeah, you guys will take care of that for us.
We'll handle that. But no, that's all kidding aside. It's great to understand and learn more about this whole process, the process that I've been experiencing and using for years before David even started the business, of getting into cars and not worrying about haggling or dealing or trying to save $10. Because the last thing I want to do, I'll save $10, but I need to make sure that I'd rather save an hour or 10 hours.
Your time is worth more than $10 a month.
Saving $10 a month.
Yeah, that's $120 a year, and an hour, your time's worth more than $120.
Just a little bit.
And
my peace of mind, I think, is super important for myself, for my wife, for anybody else that I'm dealing with. Like, that's why, I don't recommend anybody go do it traditionally. Let's do it the new way and make your life easy and have the car delivered to your driveway by David and his team at Vantage Auto.
Right, man. It's a very pleasant, easy experience. So check us out online. All our specials are up on our website, www.thevantagegroupauto.com. Again, www.thevantagegroupauto.com. All our specials are up there. If you guys are interested in something, you can go online, submit an inquiry, and one of our representatives usually will get back to you in 10 minutes after you put it in there.
Hope so.
And if anyone has any questions, reach out, please.
Yeah, we'll get it out there. We'll tag it. We'll link and bio it on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the fun places. I appreciate you coming down. We didn't even get into the weeds about anything fun. We might have to do another,
like GBBs and everything like that?
We might have to go. We might have to go. Oh my God, GBBs
into the archives, right?
Oh, we're gonna have to go into the archives, but we might have to take that offline and do something different. Sauce bombs, GBBs. I mean, driving the Eclipse underneath the guardrails of the security gate and ripping the antenna off. I mean, we had some good times and so many more ahead. And I appreciate you coming down.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks,
it was very enjoyable. Thank you.
See ya.